We are live. Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Dadgummit. Today is Sunday, February the 16th, 2025. We are about 24 hours removed from Auburn now whipping that ass in Tuscaloosa. Ooh. You know what I've always said, fellas? The sports writers, AP, always know more about it than the coaches. We'll talk about Auburn's big win over Alabama, the 1-2 matchup, and more. We're going to get to some calls, some questions from our callers. Here to do it with me, as always, Mr. Cole Pinkston, Mr. Allen Head. How about you, fellas?
How about you?
Yeah, how about you, everybody?
Okay, so Auburn, I think it was a 9-point win at Tuscaloosa, despite Janai Brooms 0 for 4 on his last 4 free throws. Can't have that.
Yeah.
Get him cold. But fantastic overall game for Auburn fan. That was fun. That was fun to watch. It was a big deal. And like I said, man, how dumb do you feel if you're a coach who voted in that poll right now? Who had Alabama #1 over Auburn, whose only 2 losses were to top 10 teams, Florida and Duke. Alabama's the 3-loss team. How do you justify ranking Alabama over Auburn? And I'm not a big rankings guy. I don't give a shit. But I would like to know the thinking, the reasoning behind putting a 3-loss Bama ahead of a 2-loss Auburn.
If I'm going to offer, try to offer insight into what coaches might think, it would be that they're ranking in the moment, not necessarily the overall resume, right? But at that time, what kind of brand of basketball was Auburn playing? You're coming off a loss to Florida where you didn't play your best game. Janai Broome has not looked, as healthy. So is Auburn still the same team they were when they accrued all of those victories to that point? By comparison, Alabama had, I think, 10 consecutive games where they had played or gone over 100 points. Somewhere around there, their offense had been on an absolute run. But that's why you play the game, right? And so Auburn came out there. They heard all the noise, 1 versus 2 matchup. This isn't Bruce's first time in doing that. I think Justin pointed that out on our show, that they had a very similar situation where he was in the state of Tennessee, coaching Tennessee against Memphis in a 1 versus 2 matchup. He was also the road team and also came out victorious in that game. So this is not something that was unfamiliar to him, but a great game. I mean, it played out the way, if you're an Auburn fan, this is everything you could have hoped for. You minimized turnovers. You were efficient with the basketball as far as scoring is concerned. Defensively, you took them out of exactly what you wanted to do and chased them off the 3-point line, forced them into contested and tough twos at the cup. And it was it was a beautiful game planned by Bruce. And when they needed it, different players stepped up, whether it was Tahad burying that transition 3. I mean, a 5-on-1 transition 3, and he's got the cojones to pull up and drill that thing. That's just not something you see from a freshman, right? Janai battling. I mean, twisting his ankle again, tweaking it, then coming back in there and getting a tough 2-point bucket when you had to have it in the lane. Chad on different occasions. Denver coming out of the half, hitting 3 straight threes, and he banked the 3rd one, and he had to be praying to God after he did that.
He called it. I heard him.
Yeah, you think he called it?
Yeah, you heard it.
The old school Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird off the basketball, off the scoreboard, backboard, through the hoop, got it. But
was that a McDonald's commercial?
It was. I think it was.
Yeah.
May have been Converse. I can't remember. But no, just a massive statement win for this team that needed it. They found themselves a little bit against Vanderbilt on the road this week, but I thought this was the one they had to have to make things even from the way the situation played out at Florida. And now, again, 16-2. And I'll say that again, 16-2 conference record is squarely on the table for this team. And I can't, in this kind of a league this year, as deep as the SEC is, I mean, it's not going to hold. But as of today, I think 13 teams from the SEC are projected to make the NCAA tournament. My guess is that it'll shift probably closer to 11. But that's just insane, guys. I mean, and think that's who you play night in, night out in your conference.
Yeah, man. I thought the best part about that win is that Bama had their runs, and they're going to have them. And they didn't have the best shooting game.
No.
For what they're capable of. You have to know that when you play them again, obviously. But the way that Auburn always had an answer for everything, always. That was pro. That was pro, man, pro level. I want to say Chaney Johnson, dude.
Yeah.
He really impressed me in this game. His defense was fantastic. Auburn's got to be better as a team rebounding. They have to. They still got out rebounded 49-40, I believe. Won the game by 9. Doing that's pretty impressive too. But Chaney Johnson brings that physicality that I love when it comes to basketball, man.
And if you look at it on the rebounding part of it, Cole, is where they got killed is on the offensive glass. That was the difference. And that led to some second chance points and stickbacks by Alabama. If they clean that up, I think that game's even pushed out even further. I think Auburn wins that one by 15 plus. But again, Alabama, give them credit for where they excelled in that game, but give Auburn credit for their defense too. I mean, I don't think Alabama was prepared for the way that Auburn was going to blitz them and run them off the 3-point line, running over screens, not going underneath anything. I mean, they didn't concede a thing on the arc out there. So it was a very, very good defensive game plan. I thought Mike Burgermaster was in his bag from some of the sets they ran on offense. They had some really good pin downs coming off that flex action. So it was interesting to watch and just a really well-called game. And other than, like you said, Alabama not shooting it, that's how you would expect 2 top 10 teams to play against one another in that kind of an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Some more big basketball news coming out of the ticker on Sunday was a huge commitment for Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. JUCO high-flying, high-scoring JUCO guard, probably a 2-guy, probably kick out to the 3 if you need it, if you want to play some small ball. But Abdul Bashir from Casper College in Wyoming, originally out of Nebraska, he committed to Auburn today after visiting last week. And this cat can shoot the lights out. He's averaging, I think it's 25.3 points per game. He's shooting, 37.3% behind 3-point line, 42% from the field. He's a 90% free throw shooter. This guy he's a bucket. And
yes,
it was a big pickup for Auburn, Alan.
Massive pickup. And you called it, Jeffrey. He's a shooter. I didn't see much in his highlights, and I needed to kind of dig around and look at more than that. You want to see some complete game action, because when you're watching highlights, right, it's a compilation of his best plays. So it's not always a true indicator of what he does well or what he does bad. But what I saw was very clean stroke, absolute shooter, doesn't give you much at the rim right now. I'm sure they can kind of push that. Got a lanky frame, very similar to Chad Baker-Mazara, but they'll be able to fill him out. Their strength coach is at Damon, and I'm trying to think of his last name. But Coach D does a fantastic job with his team, and I'm sure they'll help him there. But a guy that can come in and give you an instant impact, whether he's coming off the bench or whether he's going to be in your starting rotation next year, and you had to have it because you're losing a lot off this team. I think it's a little in flux compared to what you and I were anticipating, Jeffrey, in that there's some chance that Chad Baker-Mazara could be coming back next year if he chooses to due to the JUCO ruling. I'm not sure on Denver's status if he's going to be eligible. I know he played at JUCO, but I don't know how many seasons he's already played at this point, and does he want to come back? So it might not be as much of a makeover as we initially anticipated, but this is a guy that can come in right away, be instant offense for you, and a shooter and a zone buster that you need in a Bruce Pearl type program.
Also has a brother, Abdi. Is that right?
I think that's right.
Abdi, who is he's a shooter at Monmouth, came to Auburn. I think he lit Auburn up for about 20 plus. Did he not? Early in the season. He's a guy maybe to keep an eye on. Should Auburn look to the portal if he does go in the portal? But those guys are very close brothers. Could see maybe Auburn making a push for him should he enter the portal after this season. All right, let's before we get to the phone lines, and we're going to get to the phone lines, by George. I want to say, if you're in or around Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, looking for some real estate help, you want to sell your house, you want to find a new one, maybe build one, maybe find a plot of land to buy, maybe buy one and rent it out, a little short-term rental, maybe a long-term rental. Look no further for the help you need. Miss Jessica Andrews with the Talent Scoop. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. A lot of fours in that number, Mr. Allen Head, but she's a freaking. And if you don't believe me, just ask her freaking clients, baby. 5-star rents.
Oh, look at that.
5-star realtor, Miss Jessica Andrews. Look at you,
Awesome.
I'm going to need you to send me one of those, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I need one.
I need one of those to do our endorsement live on the show.
Yeah, that was one of her clients. So, like I said, she checked out. She goes, "Man, you really are a 5-star realtor." And here's the proof in the pudding. Give her a call, Miss Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. As always, folks, tell her we sent you. All right, big dog, Zach in the back, come to the front. Get us on some phone line. Who we got? I think
one caller.
Okay.
Oh.
I have been texting back and forth with Kevin. He is cricketing. He's ghosting me.
Oh.
He I don't know what's going on. We hope Kevin's okay. This is the first show. I don't know how long Kevin hasn't let off.
I know.
A lot of pressure on Carter right here.
Oh, Bammer lover. Nice backup.
Carter, you're live, man.
Gentlemen, how about you?
How about you, big dog?
How about you?
How about that damn win? You know what? Hey, they thought that they were going to stomp our skinny asses, and we rolled right in there, and we landslided their asses.
Carter, let me ask you a question. Are you talking low because your wife's in the other room, or are you just are you tired of doing the Crimson Crane in the middle of your house and you lost your voice?
Hey, I ran upstairs and locked myself in the closet.
I hear you, Carter. I hear you.
Is she a big fan of basketball?
She couldn't give a crap less about basketball. She don't want to hear me talking crap about Alabama, but you know. I mean, it was from start to finish. I think I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this. I got a couple questions, but I think the biggest play in that entire game was there 2 plays. The opening play when Bruce threw all his weapons at Nate Oates and Miles Kelly comes off that back screen and just bam, 3.
Pennies.
I was like, oh, here we go. And then the biggest play to me of the whole game was that Jahad Pettiford transition 3, because I knew as soon as I saw him launch up to shoot that ball, I was like, all right, 5-ball game. We're either going to nail this or they're going to get the rebound and have all the momentum coming back down the floor, and we're going to be behind the 8 ball.
Auburn never trailed in that game, did they not?
They did not.
And that got tied twice, I think, but never trailed. Yeah.
I say you got to do it on the road. Set that tone early. Miles Kelly, I thought that was a big bucket.
And I kept thinking Mark Sears was going to have his moment. You know what I mean?
Kept waiting for it, didn't you?
Yeah.
I was waiting for it, but they took the 3 away from him pretty well. He hit one from about the logo one time.
Denver Jones.
Well, yeah, and that's to give Denver credit on that, because that's the thing with Mark. When you get him frustrated, as opposed to kind of turning into a facilitator, he starts to hunt his own shot a little bit, and he'll start to take maybe some shots he shouldn't. And I thought Denver got in his head early and just chased him off the line all night and was just in his face. So he probably is the MVP coming out of that game. But to answer your question, Carter, I'm with you.
Agree.
That transition bucket by Jahad, I mean, again, 5-on-1, true freshman, you pull up and drill a 32-footer from the right-hand side, not the left, not your shooting side. You pulled it from the right-hand side and knocked it down. And I'll say this. The only thing that played in his favor on that, because I was like, no, when he was starting to let it go. And I realized that he was 5-on-1, so everybody was already set on defense. If he doesn't hit it, it's not going to be a catastrophe because Auburn's already on the other end. But all the same, man, that flipped the momentum and it kept Auburn in front, and it just felt like it took the wind out of Alabama's sails where they thought they were about to lap Auburn there and finally get over the hump.
Exactly.
And it just pushed it back out. And it showed the kind of tenacity that he's played with all year. And this is a team that's not scared to play in the face of adversity. You know what I mean? Like, they are up to the moment. And I couldn't necessarily say that about the same team last year. I felt like at times when it got tough or difficult, they seemed to find a way to possibly lose it in those close games. Now, they blew a lot of teams out. But in close games, I felt like this same club kind of struggled. This team, it's different this year, and they found a way to win those close games. And obviously, with the exception of Duke and Florida, they've been better than everybody else they've played this year.
Couldn't have said it any better, Alan. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm so proud of our guys. They fought their tails off, and every time that it seemed like Alabama was gonna try and get back in, we would answer bam, bam, bam every time, and that is the making of the best team in the country. Period.
I was so surprised after that game about how many national analysts, whatever you want to call it, talking heads, and when Auburn came out as the number 1 overall seed, even from the NCAA bracket guy, was like, basically Auburn has separated itself from the rest of the country. Did y'all pick up on that?
Yeah.
Like it was a unanimous vote that Auburn was the overall number 1 seed right now.
It didn't surprise me just because I've been looking at it, and Justin and I talk about it every week, but Auburn, by and large, has at least 5 or 6 more quad 1 wins than anybody else at this point. I think they now have 13 quad 1 wins. By comparison, last year they had, I think, 4. Zach, am I wrong on that?
No.
I mean,
and then also it's like the SEC record already.
Yes.
We've already broken the single season SEC record, and I think we play like 4 or 5 more.
Yeah.
That many quad 1 wins is crazy.
Yeah, because you still got Ole Miss. That's a
That
quad
many quad 1 opponents is crazy.
I agree. That's the depth of this league this year. It's just absolutely.
How many is it now? Is it 15 now or 16?
So
Are you serious? 16 of the 25 is SEC?
I think it's 14. 14 predicted to the tournament right now.
Okay,
My
okay.
guess is it shakes out somewhere around 11. I think some teams are going to knock each other off here.
Who's 15
Towards
and
the-
16? South Carolina and
South Carolina and probably LSU.
Yeah, LSU's terrible.
Yeah. They have their moments, you know what I mean, where they're okay. They're good athletically. They're undisciplined at times.
It's just if you're not elite in the SEC right now, you will fall behind so quickly.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, look, Texas has got great athletes on that team. And in a different conference, they probably would be a tournament team. But they're getting their ass handed to them this year in the SEC.
Yeah.
Well, even like a team like Arkansas isn't bad, and they still might find a way not to make the tournament if they can't find a way to close out some of these games.
And that's who Auburn's got this week, right? They got,
Arkansas. Yep.
And was it Kentucky or is that next week?
No, Kentucky's next week because Auburn's got 3 straight home games, and then they go 2 on the road and then back home against Alabama.
It's Georgia again. We got Georgia this week.
Yep, Georgia and Arkansas, and then you get Ole Miss. So Ole Miss is the midweek. Yeah, it's the midweek game, and Auburn should win all 3, even though Ole Miss is good. Give Chris Beard credit; he has really done a good job in that program. Wes Flanagan, former Auburn assistant, former Auburn player over there, is doing a great job recruiting for them. But no, those are 3 games that Auburn should win, and then you get 2 tough ones. You got to go on the road to Rupp, and you got to go on the road to
A&M.
To A&M. That's probably your most difficult game left. Buzz has done a good job there in College Station, and then you come back home against Alabama.
What's the point? What's the point of the tournament?
Don't you hate the SEC tournament?
Don't you hate having 2 different champions every year? Like,
yes,
I hate that.
I think that I hate it too.
And then especially because the regular season can be split, you can have like 5 teams win a championship technically in 1 year.
Yeah.
I know why they do it. I still don't like it.
Right. I hate it. It's like, Alabama, the regular season champs, and then Auburn, the SEC tournament champs. And it's like,
I'm going to be honest with you on this one. And if I'm Auburn, the only championship I'm even caring about is a national championship. And I think the SEC championship regular season means a lot to this team and means a lot to Bruce. But when it comes SEC tournament time, I'm telling you, now, look, big fella, you're going to sit your ass right over there and don't even worry about getting in the game. You're just going to rest. I want you to put that foot up, find a nice bucket, whatever you got to do, man. You're just hanging out for the week in Nashville. I don't care if you play or not. You're getting healthy this week. I mean, because I'm with you, Jeffrey. It's pointless.
It's pointless.
If you are the regular season champ, you finish 16-2 conference record, you are the number 1 seed, and it's not even close. It's not. There's nobody else that will go into the gauntlet that you go through and have that kind of a conference record. So, Janai, I love you. and I know you're a competitor, but you're going to get healthy, and we need you for tournament time.
And my last question I wanted to ask y'all is, can y'all give us an update on offensive line recruiting? I really, really want to understand more insight into what's going on there. And I don't know if y'all have much, but I'm really intrigued by what this offensive line class can do, even if it's not a bunch of high-rated guys.
Cole's wheelhouse here, baby.
That is right up Cole's alley.
Yes, I get to talk this time. No, that's a good question, Carter, because Auburn offensive line recruiting is sort of a little unknown right now. I feel like you might have had a better picture around this time a year ago. It's still a little scrambled. I'm pointing towards a couple guys. I mean, Parker Pritchett, I mentioned him a lot for a reason. I think that Dooley, yeah, they call him Dooley. I think, even though he struggled in the one-on-one portion at the Under Armour camp, he was playing tackle. I think he projects at guard. We'll have to look more at that, but I think he does. Auburn loves him, is the bottom line here. That's why I push him so much. They think he is one of the better players on tape in the game film portion of the eval of anybody in the country. So they're pushing for him. I have a prediction in for Parker Pritchett to land at Auburn right now. I like where Auburn sits with him. Wilson Zierer, I really would watch him. That's the younger brother of Killian Zierer, and boy, is he on fire right now. Penn State, Alabama, Florida, Michigan just jumped in with him. I think Auburn wants to get him locked down as soon as possible.
He's athletic, Cole. More athletic than I would have thought.
I like his tape a lot. I think his tape's great. He, for whatever reason,
is he a tackle?
Yeah,
yes.
He's a tackle. For whatever reason, it took a while for him to catch fire, but he has now done that on the recruiting trail.
Did he go to a camp or something? Like, how do you? I noticed that it was just all sudden. It was all of a sudden he had 13 different new offers.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you compare him to his brother Killian. He didn't get his offers until he was in JUCO, and really blew up. He was like the number one JUCO offensive tackle, I believe, when Auburn got him, and he wasn't bad. I mean, he's on a practice squad for the NFL right now, and he played well for Auburn at times. But they're projecting his younger brother. If you look at the projection that way, schools think he's going to be even better, right? By the way they're going after him so early.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a good. If I'm looking at it that way, I go, now that's a good prospect right there. That's a guy you would love to have in your offensive line class. I don't think this offensive line class is going to be star-studded. I just don't. I don't.
I hear you. I completely agree with you.
I don't see it happening this year. But
Dominic Harris is another guy that's coming in for an official visit from Texas.
Who is a very intriguing guy. He's like 6'7", 325 right now.
I thought he was from Vegas. Is he from Texas?
He's from Vegas.
That's what I said.
Okay, I thought you said from Texas. My bad.
I said Vegas.
Oh,
you know who I'm thinking of? The DB from Texas. Gosh, where's he? Duncanville.
Yes. Yeah.
Caden Harris.
Okay.
I got two other names I'll run by you. And
He's
guys,
a DB though. Go ahead.
Guys, I think they like JB Shabazz.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then big Edward Baker, the touchdown maker.
Big skills, big dog.
Yeah, out of Baltimore.
He's interesting. I would put Johnny Jones on that list.
Yeah.
If you don't remember, Johnny Jones has family in Auburn, Alabama.
Now he's Tampa area, Tampa, Berkeley.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So he'll be back. He's like, I'm going to be back 3 or 4 times. So that's a guy to watch. JB Shabazz, like you said. Zion Giles. That's another.
Yeah.
They'll get him on campus. He was not able to make it to the junior day because of snow. So, they got some options. We got to see how this plays out, though, a little more before I can give you some. The only one I feel really, really good about right now is Parker Pritchett, and I'm leaning more towards Wilson Zierer ending up in the class, but he is blown up, and I want to let that play out for sure.
Let me ask you guys a question, because you do this more on a day-to-day than me. Does it feel like Auburn's going a little more national this year on offensive line recruiting than they did last year?
Okay, here's what I was thinking, Cole. It's kind of a down year, right? For linemen, at least in the South?
It's not a hotbed right now in the South, I wouldn't say, in this class. there's not a ton of guys. There's some guys in Georgia. You got the Micah Smith in Florida, I believe, who's going to be an elite guy.
Yeah.
But really, the guys in this class that I see that are elite is the Jackson Cantwell kid. I can't remember where he's from, but he's elite. I mean, he might start as a freshman, that kind of guy. And then Ian Nacho, I see in that category.
Right.
And then, there's another tier under those guys that doesn't reach that level.
The highest ranked offensive lineman in the state of Alabama, you would have to scroll all the way. I'm still scrolling.
It should be Pritchett.
Trenton Pritchett from Auburn High School, who was the number 29 overall recruit in Alabama.
Yeah.
By comparison, what Carday Smith ended up being the number 1 rated offensive lineman, I think, in the state of Alabama last year, and he was in top 10.
Yeah.
So, and one time committed to Auburn.
Yeah, I mean,
he was number 10.
Yeah.
But everything we're hearing so far about a guy like Ty Buster, I've heard such good things about him already. Just going through winter workouts, they're like, dude, this guy is really athletic. I mean, how did we get so lucky to get in on this? How did nobody else see this? Is the way that Auburn's viewing this, and we'll see how that plays out.
Wow.
But that's a 3-star guy that nobody. I mean, no offense to Ty, but everybody's like, oh, okay,
I think On 3 was the only one that had him as a top 250 player, I believe.
At the end, they dropped him in the On 300.
Oh, did they?
Last 2 updates, so they were high on him. They saw him at the bowl that's up there. I can't remember is it Shrine Bowl or
yes,
East
West
Carolina.
Shrine.
Yeah.
They saw him there. He was the top performer. He was the top performing O-lineman in that whole thing for On 3. So,
Alan, last year, 3 offensive linemen in the top 20 in the state of Alabama: Micah DuBose, Mal Waldrop, and Carday Smith.
There you go.
That's right.
And Micah dropped. Micah was a top 10 guy, and then after that camp in Atlanta, it just seemed like he kind of steadily went downward.
Auburn wasn't that high on any of those guys. I mean, they had Carday Smith committed. Let's don't act like Auburn didn't want Carday Smith, but when it came to NIL discussions, their desire for Carday Smith went down.
It
Well,
did.
it gets so. I mean, you can get them committed, and then maybe somebody comes in and goes, "Well, we value you higher than that." Then it gets so tough on our end. Like, man, how do you predict that?
Right. And then he comes back and he goes, "Well, look, they're offering me this," and Auburn's like, "But basically, we don't value you that high."
Correct. And
we're not going to match that.
Like,
so
we would take you, but that value is not what we have laid out for you.
Sure. And again, you're right. I mean, I watched Carday's senior cut-ups. I thought he really improved over the course of the year and ended up being a blue chip tackle before it was all said and done. But Auburn did a good job in their offensive line class. I think the only thing they were missing last year is that
Tavares Dice.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a big loss. It was.
Yeah. You land that one, I feel really good about the offensive line haul they pulled in last year.
But hey, when it comes to offensive line, and we'll move on from this, but look at what Auburn did in the portal, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be a combination there. Even when
Sure.
you get the layered depth like you're looking for, you still, I mean, it's hard to find an Xavier Chaplin. I mean, I haven't seen him play at Auburn yet, but I've seen him play, and that guy's good, okay? He's an NFL type tackle. So how many of those are just floating around out there?
There's not. And I will be honest with you. In the portal this year, there were really, in my opinion, maybe about 3 good tackles. And the rest of them, people were paying for dudes that were mid or less than mid. And Xavier Chaplin was one of those that was like a bona fide NFL type guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So Auburn paid up on the right one for that.
Yep.
Good stuff, Carter. Appreciate you calling in, big dog. Go easy on your Bammer lover. All right, Zach, keep us going, big dog.
We finally got the legend himself, Kevin from Wilmer, Alabama. You're live.
Kevin from Wilmer, Alabama.
Hey, about you, Kevin from Wilmer, Alabama.
Kevin.
Hey, Jeffrey Lee.
What's up, big dog? I hear Wanda whispering sweet nothings in your ear.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Lee.
It's still
Yes, sir.
Valentine's Day in Kevin's house.
Hey, Jeffrey Lee.
What's up, buddy?
I think we got a Final Four and national champs basketball team.
Whew.
Man, that's. I mean, obviously. I would not. I would not disagree with you, Kevin. This team is fun to watch. But my favorite. There he is.
Your best player.
Who's their best player?
Janai Broom.
Oh,
Yeah. It's got to be Janai, even though he's been banged up this last 3 weeks.
Is that not what was his stat line, Alan? You remember yesterday?
it was like 19 and 14 or 18 and 14.
Yeah, it was a double-double for sure. He was just shy of 20 points.
About Denver Jones.
What'd you say, Zach?
He also had 6 assists.
Yeah.
Was that not the quietest 19 and 14 you've ever seen?
It was, and he started off red hot, and he kind of cooled off some.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead, big dog.
How about Denver Jones?
See, this is what I was going to say. Best player on the team, undisputed, Janai Broom. But from game to game, the MVPs are not going to be Janai Broom. Like Alan said earlier, the MVP from yesterday in Tuscaloosa was Denver Jones. There is no doubt about it.
That's what makes them so good, man. Is they can have a different MVP.
Yes,
and it can go 6 or 7 deep. Really.
How's the football recruiting going?
Yeah,
I think Auburn's at number 4 right now, Kevin. I know it's early, but I think their class right now is ranked number 3 or number 4. Let me pull this up real quick. 2026. Number 4. Number 2 in the SEC behind LSU, right ahead of A&M. Got some momentum going kind of behind the curtain.
Yeah.
They had the big junior day a couple of weeks ago, and now it's kind of a lull in recruiting right now until visits pop back up for the spring when Auburn kicks off its spring practice in the middle of March. They'll be getting guys back in. But right now it's kind of a lull in recruiting, wouldn't you say? I mean, there's not many.
My mom doing good.
Is she almost 100%?
Almost.
Almost.
All right, good.
That's good to
And
hear.
we're moving her tomorrow to another facility, which is another rehab. But it's
Okay.
up from where she's at right now.
Wanda, you been taking good care of her?
Trying.
Yeah, you sweet thing. You got a good one, don't you, Kevin?
I just wanted to say, hey, y'all guys.
Well, we appreciate you, Wanda.
Hey, Wanda.
Hey, who do you think be the offense player of the year in football next season?
Fantastic question.
That's a good question.
Who at the end of the year, fellas, you're looking back, you're looking back at the passing yards, receiving yards, the lack of sacks, maybe the rushing totals.
Tim Coleman.
He's got to be in there. He's got to be in the discussion.
Not a bad pick.
He came to mind.
And that Singletary kid.
Yeah, there you go.
Eric.
Boy, those two could be good.
I'm gonna go with Jackson Arnold.
Me
I
too.
was going to say, because
I
if
bet Fagan's be good too.
Yeah, I think he's going by the middle of the year. Everybody's going to know who that boy is.
I would agree.
I'll talk to y'all later. I'll see you next Sunday.
Appreciate you, Kevin. Thanks, Wanda.
War
You're
Eagle.
welcome.
War
War Eagle.
War Eagle buddies.
I'm curious who y'all's pick for player of the game is from the game yesterday.
no, it's Denver.
Me
for
too.
me.
Here's the thing about basketball that I love about Bruce Pearl's style and his coaching. I love defense. Dude, do you know how hard it is to get a shooter to play defense?
Extremely.
They don't want to play defense. They want to shoot the ball.
Correct. And it takes effort to play defense, right? It takes effort and energy, and that takes away from your offensive game. So to get guys to buy in, and let's be honest here, Jeffrey, I remember when we were talking 2 years ago when Denver was being recruited, he was being brought in as a scorer. He was not being brought in to be a defender.
Me and JG went out there and rebounded for him. He shot the lights out.
I remember that.
Was he being brought in to be a point guard?
No.
Mm-mm.
2 guard.
That's what I thought.
He was brought in to score. He was an SG. He was a shooting guard. He was a scoring guard.
Well, I was saying this yesterday. I really think that Auburn's point guard play is as clean as it's been in a while.
Miles Kelly was a hit.
Yes, a big hit. The only one, unfortunately, that hasn't hit has been Pegues that they brought in this past time around. But no, Denver was brought in as a 2, Cole, and they started toying with him last year when they really kind of weren't in love with some of the production they were getting from Aiden and Trey. Like at times they would be really good, and then at times it would just kind of flatline and you would get zero production. So they experimented with it last year. And then when this offseason came around, they kind of started to experiment with it even more. And then I don't think they necessarily saw what they wanted to from Pegues. And they started to kind of really think, okay, let's see what Denver looks like here. And when they cut it loose, and then Tahad thankfully panned out to be everything they thought he would be and more, they decided for that to be their rotation. But no, I mean, to make the kind of conversion he's made, and like you said, to handle a game like Alabama cleanly. I mean, I think there were 5 turnovers from Auburn, maybe 4 turnovers in the entire game. 4.
Wow.
Now, he's had some rough spots. He had some some costly turnovers at different times in the season. But, again, you're talking about a converted 2 guard. He's really probably more of a combo. And to give you almost 0 turnovers, lockdown defense, and 15-plus points from the point guard position in that game in a 1 versus 2 matchup, yeah, that's a big night.
What do you think Nate Oates thought of Aiden Holloway's production in yesterday's game?
You want me to go put on my Nate Oates jacket and come back and tell you?
Yeah, please do it. I kept saying, man, that Allen Head's getting pissed out there.
No, man.
Look at his burgundy. He's got his jacket on for the game. Look at him.
Yeah, I still got it.
That's hilarious.
But, I mean, I think he was probably frustrated for the kid. I'm sure he wanted him to have a big night. I'm sure it meant a lot to Aiden to want to have a big night.
That's kind of the thing, though, right? I mean, he's talented as he can be. Let's not even try to act like he's not.
Sure.
But he's streaky. That's what he was at Auburn. It's what he's been streaky at Bama. He's been hot for them, but he, didn't play up to what they thought he would.
Do you remember what his last shot of the game did?
Oh, yeah. It was the air ball.
Swing and a miss.
Yes. Yeah. And, yeah.
Poor thing.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think that's the difference now because
God bless him,
Pettiford turns it over, man. He's solid. He's gonna bring points. He's not he doesn't disappear much.
No.
Y'all have confidence in Tahad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you feel good when he's in the game?
I felt like when it was getting tight there at one point, I was thinking, man, let's get some isolation going with him. Just give him the ball. I don't even spread out. You want to give
four corners, baby, 4 corners.
No,
I felt better at that point with it being in his hands than Broom's.
Absolutely.
And he is probably your best creator on the team, like pure creator, whether it's for himself or someone else. He absolutely is the one that can get downhill in a hurry and or create his own step back shot. I've said this on the basketball show, but he's got some Iverson to his game. And I'm not trying to compare him to AI, who's like, in my opinion, one of the best little men to ever play the game.
Easily.
But he's got that kind of athleticism, that kind of scoring ability. I mean, he can just go off. And there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, there's not a lot of freshmen that could step in this kind of a veteran ball club and play with the confidence that he does and have control of it. The other thing is you see the team respect him. When he's got the ball, they play to him. I mean, they take his play calls. It's not like they're saying, hey, freshman, sit down, shut up. I mean, no offense to the other freshmen on our roster, but they aren't treated the same way, right?
It's the same dynamic than, when Jabari Smith was in there.
Yes. Look, real recognizes real, and greatness when you see it.
That's right.
And I hope that Tahad is going to be back next year because I think he's primed for a really
needs to be.
One. Yeah, I agree. I think he's too early to start thinking NBA.
Listen, he's not perfect. We saw him struggle mightily against Florida.
Yes.
He struggled big time against Florida. So he's not ready. He's not the immediate, 25-minute a game guy. Not yet.
No, and of course, kids get frustrated. You never know what kind of timetable they're on. I think it was Mustafa Heron I thought about turning before he was really ready. Ended up transferring out to St. John's, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But that's a kid that if he had stuck in the program and not necessarily probably listened to some people that were in his camp, could have ended up being really, really good at Auburn.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Kevin. Got us going, big dog. Appreciate you calling in.
3688. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, fellas? It's Jonathan from Troy again.
Hey, Jonathan. How about you, big dog?
What's up?
How about you? Just wanted to say a big old War Eagle.
War Eagle to
game
you.
last night.
Absolutely.
Have y'all heard some of the shows talking about how Auburn has played 8 of the top 10 teams right now?
Yes.
Lost to Duke and Florida, and that's it.
How they dropped, I don't know.
And I will be honest with you, if I were making, if this is Alan Head's bracketology, Florida and Duke are also number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament right now.
Oh yeah, Florida, Duke, Alabama, and Auburn is, I think, probably be a number 1 seed.
I'd put Houston over Alabama, but that's just me. And I'm not saying that to be petty.
You know what? I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Houston, right?
You boys down a peg. I have a question for you guys. I don't know if I've heard anybody talk about this, but at what point would you say, with the quad 1 wins, 22-2, the non-conference schedule, the winning the Maui Invitational, at what point do we start talking about where this team ranks in the history of NCAA teams as far as, one of the best teams in NCAA history? I mean, that's got to be pretty good one.
When the tournament's over.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. If you don't win a natty, none of the other stuff you mentioned matters.
Sure. Now you can have the conversation after the season's over about one of the greatest SEC teams of all time. Like if they run this and they go 16-2 in this kind of a conference, but as Zach said, you're judged on whether or not you win a championship at this point. And I think anything short of Elite 8 probably takes the shine off of what this team has accomplished.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I heard y'all say earlier in the show about the recruit, that the JUCO guy that
Bashir.
He's what was his name again?
Abdul Bashir.
Okay. This team's gonna be depleted next year, so we don't need everybody we can get.
It's going to be interesting. I don't envy Jeffrey in his quest to do basketball recruiting after this season is over, because there's going to be a lot of portal. But the roster management situation is going to be interesting.
More assistants to refill the roster.
Well, you've got 4 commitments right now, or you got 3 signees in the JUCO from today. You got Simon Walker.
Okay.
You got Caden Magwood, point guard. Or actually, I think he's a point guard. I think that's what they're recruiting him to
combo guard, but he's going to play the point predominantly.
So, Sebastian Williams-Adams, who's a 4-star, I think he was a small forward, strong forward.
I would probably put him as like a
4,
stretch 4.
Okay,
yeah.
So you've got a 4. You got Caden Magwood play the 1 of the 2. Simon Walker, who's a sharpshooter, he's going to play the 2. I would think, right? Maybe the 3, small ball. I
think the 2, yeah, maybe small ball 3, maybe a wing.
Abdul. So you've got 4 new guys coming in right now. You're expecting to lose what, Alan? Maybe 9?
Possibly, 8? Yeah, because you got Chris Moore, who's done regardless, Dylan, who's done regardless, Janai's gone. So that's 3 at least. You're up in the air with what's going to happen with Chad in Denver. And then potentially, if Chaney asks for conjunctive relief, from the court system because of the D2 various rulings that are out there, maybe he could come back. But you could lose all 3 of those, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of moving pieces to this.
Yeah.
And then Big East as well. I think Big East is a senior, so that's your other one that you're going to be losing.
I would say they're probably going to want a couple more transfers too, to get a little bit more age, because they're losing a lot of experience.
I would think at least 3 to 4 transfers that would put you at 7 to 8 new guys on an 11 to 12 man roster, maybe 13 if Bruce takes a 13.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've toyed with that, right? Like they typically take 12 and then they'll save the last spot for a walk-on just because you don't have to worry about the NIL piece and everything else.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But I think they'll go after 12. And I'm with you, Jeffrey. Depending on what Chad and Denver do, I think those are really the two pieces that you can look at right now and say, okay, guys, what do you want to do? Do you want to try your hand at professional ball, or would you like to come back, and how healthy of an NIL package can we have a conversation about to entice you to come back?
I think for both of those guys, I think they would make more at Auburn than they would
in the G League or something like that, right?
Overseas, Euro League.
Yeah, developmental league.
Right. I mean, I think with the NIL world that we're in right now, guys like that, fringe guys, will do much better coming back, honing their skills for another year under a coach like Bruce Pearl on a team like Auburn.
Yeah.
With the fanfare that they have, there's somebody. There's somebody here.
Yeah.
And if you can make a decent living being somebody at Auburn instead of going over to Euro and being that dude, I think that dude plays basketball. I don't think it's a difficult decision.
Not for me.
Right. That's me too.
Yeah, and it's why Broom came back. Like, as great as Broom is, like, Broom's not a bona fide NFL prospect or NBA prospect.
Sure.
He probably doesn't get drafted last year, and he might not get drafted this year, as crazy as it may sound.
You think second round at the highest?
Maybe late one, but probably two.
Late second, third rounder.
It all depends. He would need to go to the combine, work out, all that other stuff. Does somebody fall in love with him? Because all it takes is one team. But I would think very late first round, probably mid second round, Zach, is what I would – I mean, looking at mock drafts, guys that do this more than I do, right? Because of just his style of game doesn't necessarily fit the NBA.
Right. Say that again, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
What would y'all say his position is in the league? Probably a power forward. I don't think he's quite big enough to be center.
Depends on the team, but it's a 4-5. I mean, he probably can play some combo minutes for you at both. It depends if you're trying to speed it up and play with pace and space, or if you're going to be a team that's going to utilize your bigs a little bit more. But I mean, height-wise, he slots in as a 4, but depending on the kind of team he's on, like if you play on a Golden State Warriors type team where they want to run you out of the gym, he probably could play some small 5 for you if you need to off the bench.
I got you. So I want to turn the table a little bit here. Got to do a little bit of football recruiting. I got one question. I'll leave it with y'all. Tyler Atkinson, Georgia. What do y'all think is Auburn's legit shot for getting him in the boat?
Jonathan, fantastic question to end on.
There with you guys. Y'all have a good night.
Appreciate you, big dog. Don't be a stranger, man. Good call. Appreciate it. Cole, I think you mentioned Tyler Atkinson in a piece that I loved on Auburn Live on 3 earlier this week. Was he not included in your "It Just Ain't Gonna Happen"?
Yes, he was.
No, listen, I thought that was brilliant. Cole had a piece earlier this week on Auburn Live on 3. It was basically, what was it, Cole? Tell us about it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's 5 guys that I just, I'm being honest with you, I don't feel it for Auburn with these 5, and I hope they prove me wrong. That's
sure.
I love it. I leave it at that. Like, I'm not feeling it for these 5, but please prove me wrong. I would love to be wrong about this.
Of course.
I'm just playing the trends here. I'm playing the trends that we know about. I'm playing the trends that we've seen. I mean, I give this staff all the credit in the world. They've done an incredible job recruiting, especially with the circumstances. But those 5, and I'll give you the 5 names. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Tyler Atkinson was one of them. Unfortunately, Jonathan. I don't see that one happening. I just don't. That's a guy that Georgia has prioritized. And if you ask me, that is the biggest hump that this staff has been unable to get over. Getting an in-state Georgia guy that Georgia wants to keep there.
Correct.
Right. So I don't see that one happening. Anthony Tank Jones was in there from Mobile, St. Paul's.
I'd agree with that one.
I put Landon Duckworth in there just because I don't know. I don't feel that one just doesn't feel like it's going to work out for Auburn. Whether it's what Auburn wants him or doesn't want him, I think they do, but it just doesn't feel right.
Cole, I can't get a straight answer on that. I said that to Jeffrey on our recruiting show. I don't know. I don't understand that one.
Yeah. Jay Lamar. As much as that, I want Auburn to get him so bad. I would love for them to get him. He's my favorite running back in the class. I don't see it happening. But, there's an interesting – I don't know how Georgia's running back situation is going to play out yet. And you hate to do that. You hate to say, well, if Georgia don't want him, then they got a chance. I want to say that Auburn has a chance even if Georgia wants him, but they've got to prove me wrong on that.
They just haven't had much success doing that.
No.
They haven't been shut out, but the success rate is very low.
I know that Georgia is really prioritizing Savion Hyder, I believe is how you say his name. H-I-T-E-R. They are prioritizing him, so I don't know how many backs Georgia wants to take in this class. That is going to be important when you look at this recruitment, though. 2? Okay. Well,
as per Rusty's update the other day, and I trust Rusty to know more about Georgia recruiting than me. That's for sure.
Yeah, if he said, you better listen to Rusty if he says it.
For sure.
Backs, I would think that if they got Hyder, they would also want Jay Lamar to pair with him. That'd be their top guy. So that's why I don't see Jay Lamar. And then Tristan Keys. I think Auburn's going to have a great receiver class. I don't see Tristan Keys being in it.
He's like the Caleb Cunningham of 2024.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or 2025, I'm sorry.
Except it does not feel like he's going to stay in state at all. I think his whole top group is out of state.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Ole Miss is going to linger in that recruitment and be able to hang in there. Lane Kiffin's done a great job as far as, featuring wide receivers. But as of today, his top group, Ole Miss isn't even getting an official visit, to the best of my understanding. So that one's interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
So I love that, Cole. I thought that was fantastic. Love that story. Hey, and while we're at it, Cole, Auburn Live has a promotion going on right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. You get $1 per week if you buy an annual subscription right now for the rest of the year, I believe is how the wording on that. Is that right, Jeffrey?
Yeah, $52 basically for an annual subscription. You're averaging out to $1 a year, which is that's about as good as it gets in this industry. $1 for 1 year. When, like I said, kind of in a lull right now, and thank goodness for basketball because it keeps the interaction.
Well, it is a dead period right now in recruiting, so you don't have
no visits.
You don't have kids coming to Auburn to visit. But I'm gonna tell you, when and it's gonna be interesting. Spring practice is later than usual. We've been in there doing interviews with players for spring practice, and there's recruits walking through the door, and it's chaos. And you wonder, how's this coaching staff getting spring practice together? They're having meetings with their guys twice a day. They're putting together practice scripts. They're putting together install. They're doing that, and yet you have to recruit as well as you've been recruiting all year. I think they're going to have an advantage this year by pushing spring back 2 weeks or whatever it is. You got that extra 2 weeks to hit it hard on the trail, right?
Auburn's first day of spring practice is March the 25th. They'll practice 12 times, culminating on April the 12th with the 8A game.
You're muted, Alan.
Probably a good thing, man.
It used to be 15 days, didn't it?
Yes.
How many is it now?
I'm counting 12.
12 practice days?
Uh-huh. And the release that they sent out?
Yeah, but I think they've got 2 walkthroughs that they're not necessarily forecasting as practice.
Okay. They're not counting the first days just in shorts, right?
Right.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. 12.
No,
whatever.
They count a day as a practice technically too, right?
Yeah. That's part of the 12.
Look, it's not going to be long before this is going to be treated. and this is something I've been advocating for like I feel like a year and a half now, but we're going very quickly to an OTA type system. I mean, I was proud to hear Hugh Freeze say that the other day, and that's something that other coaches have said. But I think spring, with the way roster construction is right now, it doesn't do anyone any good. You don't even have a complete roster yet. And so to have a practice right now, only to have kids walk away because of your other portal window, just makes little to no sense. So they're going to push it to where they have their contact practices in June, give them the month of July to recover, and then they'll start again in fall practice.
The biggest thing to me, I'm with you on that. I agree totally. But you also get the install going for Jackson Arnold. That's going to be important.
Yeah.
Because when you saw the jump in understanding of the offense, you saw the offense take a step forward when Peyton Thorne got to go through spring practice.
For sure. For sure.
That's a big deal. And then, I mean, Deuce Knight, dude, he's getting all these reps in spring. He's getting a ton of reps.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
Yeah, Ashton Daniels will have to come in. He'll have to beat out Deuce Knight for that number 2 role.
He will. And I think that he will probably.
Yeah, me too.
I think that he will, but that's a think, right? Like I don't know that anymore because of some of what the word has been about how impressive Deuce has been, and that he's more than they thought he was going to be. By comparison, and this is not me taking a shot at Walker before anybody says that, okay? I never heard, like, they liked Walker. They thought he was good. But I never heard the sentence, he's better than I thought he was. I've already heard that about Deuce.
Well,
and so, go ahead.
You made the point the other day, Alan, like, or maybe I was talking to a friend of mine. It used to be a Walker White would be down the road. He would be your guy.
Yeah.
But the time clock is so small now. If they don't hit immediately, and that's a lot of pressure, and it's not fair to Walker White. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a fantastic quarterback at Baylor.
No, I think he probably will be. But these kids feel that pressure. Their agents are in their ear, because let's not pretend like that's not a factor now. Because we got to feature you. If you're going to make it to the NFL, you got to go someplace you're going to play. So there's a lot of different pressure from a lot of different places. And like you said, Cole, 10 years ago, it wasn't necessarily the case. You wrote it out. You waited your turn. You developed. And then, like you said, down the line, when you've been in the system for 3 years, it was your time. It's just not that level of patience anymore. So if you're not hearing what we're hearing about Deuce, well, then you start to think, okay, what's their transfer window?
Yeah. I've heard a lot of buzz about freshmen, man. There's, I put out 2 off-season intels on that stuff. Yeah, make sure you check that out. That's all.
Yes.
That's all coming straight from the building, man. So you don't want to get too carried away when you're talking about this stuff, and neither do the guys you talk to at Auburn either. They want to be very careful because they're just going through workouts right now. They're not. Of course, they do player-led routes on air and stuff like that. So
sure.
The athleticism and as far as, they believe they've cashed in on the athleticism they thought they saw on tape on a lot of guys. And that is important because when it comes to eval for this staff, man, I trust them. They have given me no reason not to trust them. That first class, 2024, looking good.
It is.
On the field last year. So, yeah, I mean, that's good to hear. It's good to hear that stuff.
Do we have one more caller, Zach?
Jonathan closed it out.
Okay, that was the one.
I got to know before we get out of here. What is y'all's take on this Chad Baker-Mazzara and the Bama fan lady? I can't make sense of it. Am I overthinking it? You know what I'm talking about, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't open Facebook or Twitter or anything without seeing her face right now. It's a big deal. So I figured we needed to touch on it. And I don't really know how to explain what even happened there.
I mean, I think Chad was going into the stands after a loose ball. Something happened. He landed on them. Now, the best of what I can tell from the video is Chad got pushed, but not by the 2 that he landed on. It was somebody that was a third person that kind of pushed him. And I think Chad thought that the guy pushed him that was there. And then she reacted to maybe what Chad said to him. I'm not exactly sure. You can't see what Chad says or doesn't say. So
So it has to be what he said that set it off, right?
I mean, I assume, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't there, didn't hear it. You would anticipate that from the way the video is, but again, as my grandpa used to say, man, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see, right? So
I did see 3 teeth from her though.
Oh, there you go. She had those. Did she have a natty light in her hand?
Marlboro Red. Oh, fantastic. Good basketball content here tonight, fellas. Gotta appreciate that. Fantastic show. Absolutely. Carter got to start it off. He subbed in for Kevin tonight, but Kevin wasn't too far behind him. Carter, Kevin, and Jonathan, fantastic calls. Fantastic questions, fantastic comments. We all love to touch on all of those. Folks, we will be back Wednesday morning with a recruiting show. We'll also be back next Sunday night for the call-in show. Might have some Auburn Live Plus content this week as well. Be on the lookout for that. Auburn Live on 3, as Cole said, $1 for each week for the next year. Get you an annual subscription right now for $52. Also, don't forget Auburn, Opelika County. Looking for some real estate help? Look no further for the help you need. Miss Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you. All right, folks, that's going to do it tonight. Appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. For Cole, for Alan, for Zach in the back who came to the front and went to the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay that left lane. See ya.